joining another episode of the Investor Spotlight podcast. Today we have special guest Damion Lupo from Phoenix, Arizona. How are you, Damion?
Hey, I'm good. I'm here in the middle of the tornado, just like everybody else. And, the meltdown, the pandemic, and here we are.
Yep, we're just trying to figure stuff out and
Yeah.
keep as sane as possible. Keep doing our normal activities here. So, Damion, you have a load of experience, 21 years of investing. You've had 50 businesses, 12 books, and just to top it off, 4 black belts, because I guess you had some extra time somewhere in there.
That's right. All those black belts. I was just thinking, I've also lost everything 3 times. So that's a unique perspective that helps when people are thinking the world is falling on top of them.
Ah,
And there's no perspective because we haven't done it yet. Once you've done something, it changes your experience of looking forward.
true, absolutely. And you lost things 3 times and you just got right back up on the horse and kept going, and things turned out pretty well on the other side.
Part of the process is the first time it happens, you stay laying there going, "Oh my gosh, the world has ended," and then eventually you realize you're still alive, and that's the biggest thing that I think most people are afraid of. Is they're afraid that whatever's going to happen is going to kill them, and the likelihood is it's not going to kill you financially or other. Even if you get coronavirus, statistically, it's not going to kill you. Losing your money, in any case, all of it or some of it, is not going to kill you, and so the faster we can process that and not money's made up anyway. I mean, that's part of the journey, the experience that I've had. And for most people, as you start investing, what you realize is it's not it's there's a detachment of your time for money, because you're not earning money at $20 an hour anymore, $50 an hour.
Mhm.
It's really creating stuff. So when you realize that if something happens that you can't control, then you go, okay, I'm learning from that. I'm smarter. I'm wealthier because of the experience, and I'm going to go create more money, more wealth because of that wisdom that I have. And wisdom comes from cuts, bloody, bruising activities. It doesn't come from a book. So
Yeah.
that's one of the opportunities right now for people to realize this is going to make us stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are really great words and really great thoughts. And I think we all needed to hear that considering what's going on right now in the world.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your personal journey. 21 years ago, how did you decide that you're going to get into real estate investing?
I did this accidentally. I had an insurance company. I was selling insurance. And when I did that, while I was doing that, there's an opportunity with insurance to make a bunch of money, but it was fairly slow. And a friend of mine came to me after he'd read one of Robert Kiyosaki's books. And he said, "Hey, I've got a deal, but I need some money." And I said, "Well, I don't have any money." Probably like a lot of people listening, I don't have any money, but I had a
Yeah.
credit card with $6,000 that I could take out on a cash advance. So I did that, bought the house that he brought in, and then he vaporized. So I got to learn how to be a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, fell off the roof, electrocuted myself, and got really high from all the paint fumes. And that's where it started. And I got the bug, and I started looking for more stuff and going to seminars. And when I did that, because I was taking action, and I did what they told me to do kind of blindly, which is valuable. It's one of the valuable things about being 20 or
Mhm.
25, because you're so naive. You think that you can build the Great Wall of China in an hour.
Yeah, and
And
really what you're saying is you're an adrenaline junkie because you fell off a roof and got electrocuted and you liked
probably
it.
hit, probably hit my head, and I was like, oh, this is a great idea. Let's keep doing this. But it is part of this is literally being willing to go into the unknown, into the darkness, and not have all the answers. When
Mhm.
you talk to people, Boone Pickens just recently died. Very, very smart guy, billionaire. And he was in his 80s, and he would tell you he's still learning, and Buffett would say the same thing.
It
People that are
never
really, really
stops. You
smart,
never
it
stop
doesn't
learning.
stop. No, and that's the key, to be out there doing things so that you learn at a cellular level. It's not about just your brain, it's about your whole DNA that gets rewired as you go through the experience.
Mm, absolutely. So, where are you now with your real estate? You started off with single family rentals, is that correct? And now you've morphed into what?
Yeah, so I started off buying houses and then doing a lot of owner carry financing, where I was buying stuff and doing creative stuff because I didn't have the money, I didn't have the credit, and I didn't have any investors, and so I had to just use my brain. And then that eventually turned into where I was holding these things long term. It turned into buying apartments to remodel. It turned into developing condos, and so I did a lot of different things, 7 different states, and ultimately I got fairly rich in my late 20s, and my ego got huge. And right now there is an experience that's happening similar to back then in the late 2000s, where a lot of people are going to realize maybe I need to check my ego, because we tend to have some success and think that we're 10 feet tall, bulletproof, and the smartest man on the planet or woman on the planet.
Right.
And that's where I was. So I ended up losing all of that in 2008. It went
Mm.
from 5 projects making that were pro forma'd to make me $1 million each, losing me over $1 million each, all of them within less than a year. So
Wow.
I think, especially now with the markets going haywire and crashing and coronavirus, you cannot overestimate how wrong you can be. And it really, it takes humility to say, okay, what am I missing here? We all missed the black swan. There are a couple of crazy epidemiologists and virologists that said this is coming and nobody listened to them. Well, now everybody's going, please fix this. And we
Yeah.
should all be asking, what are the things that we can think about that, looking at our lives, our financial lives, if I'm wrong about everything, what does that look like? And then start thinking about it. It allows us to go out of to leave the fear. Because if we start looking down the road and say, okay, what if I'm wrong about that? Then what? And then what if I'm wrong about that? And then what? What if this happens? And then what? It
Yeah, and
allows
really
us to say,
that's what
oh,
holds so many people back from
yes,
even getting started is the fear of, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know how to do this. And they just don't do it at all.
that's exactly right. And when you say, if this doesn't work out, then what? If I do this deal, if I put 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 in this deal and I lose it, then what? And you start realizing, okay, then I'm still here. And then
Yeah.
I learned something. The biggest mistake is not learning something. The biggest mistake is blindly throwing money at something, having no idea why, and then if it goes away, knowing not learning anything. And then you're
And
just
just
going to do it
giving up.
again. Yeah, giving up. That's what people will do. They'll say, well, it didn't work. Or we listen to people that say, you remember that last time you did that? It didn't work out then. Why are you doing this now? So the goal is to grow. It's not the money, it's the growth. That's where the wealth is. It's directly tied to the growth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great, and to point out, because we have a lot of beginner investors out there listening right now, and they're going through these challenges in their own minds right now. Your mind can be your own worst enemy at times. But good point. It's like we're still going to be here even if something bad happens. So pick up the pieces and figure out, well, what's going to happen next. What can I do next to meet my goals?
Yeah, that's a positive outlook. It's helpful in times of depression and anxiety to look forward to a future and have goals. And it's more about them pulling you, and so that you don't get stuck in the muck. The fear keeps you stuck in the past, and it keeps
Yeah,
you stuck in a trench. And fear is healthy if you're sitting on a road and a car is coming at you. Fear of getting run over is good. It'll get you to
makes you
move.
move. Yeah,
But if you're just hiding under a rock for your entire life, that isn't a life. So there has to be a balance. Use fear as a tool, but not as the thing that holds you down and keeps you there forever.
absolutely. I definitely agree. So tell me a little bit more about you have a very vast portfolio, but as of late, the biggest thing that you've been looking into is the eQRP. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what that is and why that would be important to someone in real estate investing?
Yeah, it gets really important, I think, to probably a lot of the population now realizing that they don't have any control over their retirement money. And they think, oh my goodness, the stock market's gone
As
off
the
a
stocks
cliff.
just crash, yeah.
Right. And that's where most people have 401ks and IRAs. And so people are now saying, well, what other options do I have? The options are you can do things like gold, like real estate, having real assets. And I mean, people are going to need places to live. That's not going to stop. Real money is important. Gold isn't going to stop. But until we do something different, and that would be the eQRP, we don't have the choice. The eQRP is a retirement account where you have control. You have a checkbook, you have the ability to hold your assets. You're truly in control. And like right now, we just had a client that reached out and said, hey, my business is stalled out and I need an emergency loan. And so she's able to write a check from her retirement account to herself today. So she doesn't have to wait. There's no processing. She writes a check. She has that cash literally tonight inside of her checking account. And it's
Awesome.
allowing people to stay alive using these retirement funds because they have an eQRP. Traditional 401k doesn't work because even if you have an option for a loan, you still have to wait until they can process it, and
And
your
you get a
business may be
penalty.
dead. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't work like it does when you have an eqrp. So that's my entire mission, is to break shackles, financial shackles. And the eqrp is a way for me to help people get control of their retirement money, because that's where most of America has their assets, in their retirement accounts, but
True.
it's stuck on a roller coaster or a casino called Wall Street.
Absolutely. And so, how is an eQRP different from other qualified retirement plans that people may think of when they think about investing, like the solo 401ks and the self-directed IRAs? How is it different from those?
So every different type of retirement account is under different parts of the tax code. So IRAs are under the 408 section. You've got a custodian. They're very slow. Your custodian gets in the way. Even when you have checkbook control, there's limits. If you do real estate, you want to buy real estate, and there's debt, you may there's a tax called UBIT. It's up to 37% tax on your profits. Like that. So that's a disaster waiting to happen. Self-directed IRAs and real estate, it's like oil and water. They don't
Mm,
mix. Like, in my opinion, a terrible idea. So you've got things like solo 401ks, which don't have liability protection. People don't realize that they could get sued and lose that money in a solo
mm,
401k. If you hire a part-time employee, you're blowing up your plan. So really, there's a lot of options that are out there that you could potentially do some real estate or some other things. But those self-directed options have little hand grenades with the pin missing. And if you don't really understand it, or if you're just buying because somebody's selling you and not telling you what all the different nuances are, you're sitting there waiting. You're going to step on a landmine. You're going to blow your knees off. And an
yeah, I know a
eqrp
lot of
solves all
people
that.
who use those, and I don't even think they're knowledgeable about half of the things that you just mentioned. So it's like a lot of lack of knowledge. They know the good part. Oh yeah, I can use this money to buy a house, but they don't know all the rest of the caveats that may come with it that they need to watch out for.
Well, and part of the problem is a lot of people look at Google, and so Google gives you whatever you want to hear. It's an echo chamber. So you type in your search, and it gives you an answer based on what you searched. A lot of bad information, and unfortunately, a lot of times we're looking at the cheapest thing, and we get what we pay for. And so when you get the cheapest thing, like, there's plenty of self-directed IRAs that are free. That's a
Mm,
bad idea, because you literally are getting what you pay for, and you're going to end up paying unbelievable taxes. You're not going to have control. You don't have options to emergency loans. So truly, it's important to have people that are part of an advisory team. Just like in real estate investing, you don't do everything yourself. You have contractors, you have insurance agents, you
right.
have attorneys, accountants. Same thing here. You want to have specialists that do one thing really well. And that's the eqrp. The company is called the eqrp company. Why is that? Because that's what the company does, and it's the only company in the country that does it.
And is this your company that you created, or?
Yeah, there's a group of us that own the company, and we created this to solve a problem. The point of doing this was not to do something like everybody else. It was really to solve a specific problem, to give people control, protect them from liability. People that have employees, it solves that problem. So it solves a lot of problems in one place, and nothing else on the market does that.
So if someone was interested in finding out more information about the eQRP, how could they get in contact with you or find out more?
Best thing to do is grab your phone and type the word eqrp and send it to the number 72,000, and you'll get a report that I wrote about the eqrp and about the retirement accounts, summing up what we've been talking about. It's about 15 pages, take you about 15 minutes, and I guarantee it's better than a call with Geico. You're going to end up doing real well.
you'll, you'll, you'll not be just saving more, you'll be making a lot more. So
That's right.
give me some examples of where you've used your eQRP in real estate. And what does that look like in a real world example?
Well, I'll give you some great examples from clients, because they're out there doing all sorts of stuff that's just really interesting
Okay.
and I think helpful. One of them, we had somebody that had a house that they were flipping inside of an IRA, a self-directed IRA, and they came over and they said, "Hey, we're about to sell this house, but our accountant told us we have a tax bill," because they'd used their self-directed IRA and they used a bunch of leverage, a lot of debt. They were going to make about $58,000 in profit, and their tax bill with their IRA was going to be $20,000. We converted that IRA into an eQRP, and their tax bill went to zero. And that took
Hmm.
15 minutes. So again, better than
Wow.
Geico.
Gosh, that's huge. That is a huge difference. So now everybody out there who has self-directed IRAs needs to give you a call or contact you and figure this out. That way they don't lose out on
Yeah,
that
there's
amount of
it.
money.
I mean, it's not only the taxes, but it's the control. People that, when you're trying to do a real estate deal and it takes you weeks to actually have a custodian process your paperwork, whereas with an eQRP, you can get in the deal because you write the check today or wire it. Uh, it Markets move really fast right now, and if you don't have control, you're
You're gonna
SOL.
lose on the deal. Yeah, you're
You're
gonna
gonna
lose
lose on
out
the
on a good
deal.
deal.
Right? We've got a lot of people that are buying physical precious metals, and those metals are running in short supply right now. If you have an eQRP, you can write a check and you own those things today. And it's about speed and control. And there's nothing that comes close to an eQRP.
Yeah, it sounds like a great vehicle to use for real estate investors or like the other items that you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about for people who are getting started out there. What's your best piece of advice for a new investor who's just trying to figure out the ropes and figure out where the lay of the land is?
One of the things that's really valuable, and very few people do it, is you got to be involved in actual stuff. You can't just you can't hide behind a screen or a book. The smartest thing that I've ever heard of doing, and I've done this a couple of times, but I'm not smart enough to do it more often, is going and finding somebody that's very successful, that's been through multiple cycles, and asking them if they'll allow you to help them, and you'll work for free, because
Hmm.
you'll learn more from them by being in amongst the deals than you'll ever learn just on your own. I mean, you're going to learn on your own, but it's a really powerful way to hack. I mean, if you want a 4-hour work week type of hack, Tim Ferriss hack, it's a great
Yeah.
way to do it. Go find somebody. There's plenty of people that want to share their knowledge, but they don't want to have people steal their time. And if you're willing to go work for somebody and help them, there's a lot of people that would be very open to that. And it's a great way to go through the process of learning without necessarily watching all your money go away.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And that way it's more of a give and take relationship versus, hey, tell me everything that you know. I'm new and I want to do what you're doing too. It's really being involved and taking time and giving thanks to that
That's right.
person and what that person
Exactly.
is going to give to you in return.
Yep. It's circulation.
Absolutely. Great advice. You've had a lot of great advice for us today. Is there anything else that you think our listeners would benefit from knowing or anything else that you wanted to add?
Biggest thing that I've learned over the years is there's two things that we call them the M&Ms, mentors and mistakes. Having a mentor, like I mentioned, volunteering and having somebody that's older, grayer, wiser, just somebody that's been through stuff, and then realizing that mistakes are not going to eat you. uh, our inner primal fears they take over, and so instead of taking action, we just sit and wait. And when things go bad, we think, oh, this is the end of the world. Truly, mistakes is what makes us wealthy. It's because we're growing in that process. And I can't say that enough or
Mm,
reinforce it enough, that mistakes are where it's at. That's where all the gold is. and
that's where
and
you're
if
going to
you're
get the
if you're afraid
most
of it,
growth.
it's where you're going to get the most growth. And so it's really it's the universe's gift, and they universe wraps it up in pain sometimes, and that's just the universe saying, hey, are you worthy of this? Are you willing to go through it? And most people don't. But when you're listening to something like this, right now, there's an opportunity. There's going to be a lot of opportunity out there, and it's going to be a little bit messy. And messy is going to be awesome because you're going to be in the middle of it. You're going to grow, and you're going to grow wealthy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely great advice. Thank you so much, Damian. We really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your knowledge. I think all of our listeners are really going to benefit from what they've just heard today. So remember, believe in yourself. Look into eQRPs. Mistakes are okay. Don't let the fear take over your mind. Just keep going, and at the end of the day, if you're out there and trying hard, you're going to figure things out.
You are going to figure them out. Just keep pushing. I mean, there's a vacuum that happens if you say, I'm not going to do something, or I'm just going to wait. Well, okay, you're not going to just wait. Like your mind and your soul requires you to fill that space and that time up with something. So you've got to figure out something you're going to focus on. Our brain doesn't not do something; it only focuses on things. And so that's something to think about. What are you actually going to focus on? Because that's what you're going to actually go create.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We definitely appreciate you having you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks.